What some people used to consider an insult is oftentimes the greatest compliment that one can receive. Perhaps you're just too smart for your surroundings. Maybe you're just too geeky about certain things. Maybe you're interested about things that other people don't really care about. But let me tell you one thing. Nerds are necessary. Today, Austin is going to tell you nerds what being a nerd is like.
You said it like I'm a dweeb or something. Nah, just fucking with you. But you know what's funny about that? I don't know if you remember, but I used to joke about this all the time with you, because whenever Jose does something, whenever he has like a interest in anything, he's going to be the super fucking most nerd about that shit. Like everything, bro. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be cameras, it could be cigars, it could be fucking marine biology, just anything like that. He's gonna delve deep into it and become a subject matter expert on this shit in a matter of a week. And then he's gonna spring off a whole bunch of these facts and say, yeah, bam, 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 bam. How do you not know this? You know what I'm saying?
Meanwhile, Austin's like, can you shut up?
Yes. But here's the thing about that. In every single thing that he's done, he's been able to have some success in it because he develops that nerdy mentality about it, where he's willing to research, he's willing to study and be inquisitive on the specific topics that he's looking into. And because of that, he gains more knowledge more quickly than others would. So when people view nerds, you know, especially in our generation, when we were in high school, middle school, shit like that, you would view them as like a kid with like some glasses, you know, pimples all over their face and body, maybe just looks kind of geeky, a bowl cut, you know, shit like that, right?
Face looks like cheese pizza.
Right. And some people like to say, oh, well, those nerds are the ones that grow up to be successful. Not all the time. Because knowledge is only as good as what you apply it to and apply it for. If you're not applying your knowledge, you can be the smartest person in your class, but it doesn't mean you're going to go anywhere. You could be a super nerd, doesn't mean you're going to go anywhere. But if you take the time to study, you take the time to learn these things and become a nerd about whatever it is that you have interest in, and you apply it, I believe that you will gain success in a matter of time. Because once you throw that whole nerd looks like this, nerd looks like that, nerd sounds like this, and you throw that shit out the window and you realize that being a nerd on a specific subject is actually very good for you and very valuable, you'll go a lot further.
Well, and the interesting thing is, it's almost like the term nerd became somewhere along the road derogatory. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing about that,
we got a viewer right here on our
pigeon's just chilling on the balcony right now.
Yeah.
That poor boy looks lost as hell.
Hey, man. He's enjoying the great audio sounds of the AM Club podcast. And he flies away as soon as I say that. You know
epically,
what?
though.
You know?
Hey,
bro.
We love all of them.
Yeah. But stay longer.
Why not? Enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the show.
That could be a whole entire podcast as well. Why don't you stay and enjoy the show?
Stay tuned.
The AM Club podcast. So I feel like the word nerd somewhere along the line became a derogatory term. And I actually want to hypothesize on why that is. I feel like people at some point in time became intimidated by nerds. The fact that you know so much, the fact that you're so passionate about one particular thing is scary to a lot of people. And I understand because, hey, sometimes when somebody is so good, you become afraid of it because you don't understand it and because it's not at the level that you can achieve. A lot of people were scared of MJ. A lot of people were scared of Kobe. A lot of people are afraid, still to this day, of Usain Bolt. That fool's out there playing soccer. I don't know if you saw that. He's out there and he's fast as hell playing soccer, of course. But we fear things that we don't understand. That's why a lot of people fear death. That's why a lot of people fear space. That's why a lot of people fear geniuses. They're afraid of the power that they have, the knowledge that they have, and they also feel belittled and small themselves because they don't have that same capacity. They wonder, what is different about them and why can't I be there? And so in an effort to control that thought, it becomes hate, it becomes resentment, it becomes an expression of envy, but in a different way. They're envious of the success that a nerd has achieved or is capable of achieving, or the focus, or whatever it might be, the acumen. And they think, oh, fuck that guy. He's just a geek. He's just a nerd. He's never going to get laid. He's never going to amount to anything. He's in his textbooks and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But hey, without geniuses, without nerds, without people who are devoted or dedicated to anything or who aren't passionate about anything, we wouldn't be anywhere in society and in life as a whole, because every single domain has one domain expert minimum. And there's a hierarchy of domain experts, and that's exactly how we make progress as human beings. If nobody cared to optimize or improve or to learn more, we would never progress. If we weren't worried or concerned for increasing the efficiency of computers, we wouldn't get faster phones. Our communication would have never progressed. We wouldn't be able to essentially make the world flat in terms of communication, business, and all the above. There's so many innovations that we can touch on and we can discuss that only came about because of quote unquote nerds. But at the end of the day, it's undeniable that being a genius, being smart, being dedicated, being focused, asking questions, and essentially shutting aside everything else has its pros. Now, it definitely has cons, but we can get into that in a little bit.
Indeed. And you mentioned that people hate on, or they have a fear of things they can't understand. But I also like to add that people often hate on things that they know that they can achieve or aren't willing to put in the work to achieve. So a lot of people could have played basketball growing up, right? And then, some people go on to play in college, some people go to play in the NBA and all that shit. And then while they're at home, maybe watching the game or whatnot, they may have their friends or whoever over, and they see a player that they used to play with or used to play against. And they're like, man, he wasn't even all that. He's not that good to me. I don't know. I don't even know why people even like him. And to me, really, when you do that, that is just showing your insecurity, showing your shadows, like as you like to say. And then you're also trying to level the playing field in a sort. Like you're trying to make yourself feel like you're somewhat on their level or above their level. And people kind of do that with nerds like Steve Jobs or Bill Gates or, maybe not Elon Musk as much.
Oh, but no, there's a lot of people who hate Elon Musk.
Oh, for
sure.
For
no reason.
Exactly. But like, say if you're looking at their apparel,
right?
Mark Zuckerberg, you're looking at his apparel. You're like, bro, he's got all that money, but he looks like such a lame. Like, he's so lame. I wouldn't even want it.
Or people who make fun of Jeff Bezos for taking TRT and getting big. They're like, oh, he's a nerd, so he was skinny and now he wants to be a man. And Leonardo DiCaprio was talking to his wife and shit. It's like,
there you go.
That's what you're worried about?
You're trying to hate on someone else to make yourself feel better because you know that person is doing better than you in life, and you would like to be at that level, if not doing better in life yourself. And people often do that, and it's really, again, something that I definitely used to do when I was younger and more immature, but you realize that doesn't get you anywhere. And you also realize that it's coming from a place of, that you can do better, but you just won't do better. So people often do that with nerds, quote unquote. And to me, again, no matter how big you are, no matter how cool you may look, it's really showing how immature and how insecure you are about yourself when you do things like that. And to be honest, this is one thing that I like to speak on nowadays, is the fact that, even if you may not be the most nerdy person, you're not the most inquisitive person, you're not the most, perspicacious person when it comes to learning things and applying the knowledge that you learn and willing to read multiple books on one subject and all that type of shit, right? You may not be like that. And you may know that you're not that type of person. But in order to get to where you want to go, in my opinion, you're going to need one of those people around you. You're going to need one of those people who's very nerdy and they're willing to put in the work to just research and learn as much on a topic as they can. And if you have somebody on a team like that, it allows you to always keep your ear to the streets in a sense. Like if there's a new finding on something in the scientific space or in whatever space that you're in, they're going to know about it. You may not know about it, but they'll know about it. And then you ask them, hey, can you explain this to me or break it down to me and how this can relate to what we're trying to do? And it could save you millions of dollars. It could save you a lot of time, and it could save you the brain power of you trying to figure it out yourself if you know that you're not like that. And then we've talked about this before when it comes to delegation. Delegating certain tasks to subject matter experts like that, nerds as you may call them, helps you progress and grow your company and whatever you have a lot quicker because you have someone like that that's willing to do the research and be a nerd on that specific subject. And you can still maintain that level of visibility on, a little bit into what they're doing, but also into trying to move the whole entire operation forward as opposed to sticking into one specific subject and making sure that you're just a super nerd at that one thing.
And I think that there is a pertinent question that I would like to pose to you all. Why aren't you a nerd? There's a variety of reasons that came to my mind as I was typing this, and I think that a lot of them likely hit home. Are you afraid of being exceptional at one thing? Meaning, are you afraid to pigeonhole yourself? Are you afraid to be an expert in one thing and one thing only? Are you afraid of the pain that it will require you to be exceptional in one domain? Because I think a lot of people, even though they may not say it, they understand what the process is going to entail, and they run away from it. They don't like to even think about it, which makes sense because just thinking about it is painful. Doing it is even more painful. And what I believe to be one of the most important things is, do you have FOMO? The fear of missing out. Are you afraid that if you become a nerd, you shut yourself in, you put your head down, you put your headphones on, and you just work for 2, 3, 4, 5 years in one single domain? You say no to every single outing, every single party, every single event. You don't go out drinking, you hit the gym, you do everything you need to do to become an expert within that domain. Are you afraid that you're going to miss out on what people nowadays call life? Going to fancy clubs on a Tuesday, going boating, okay? Variety of social events, running clubs, whatever it might be. Are you afraid? Are you truly afraid that you think you're going to miss out? Because I think that you're sorely mistaken. Personally, I would prefer to be a nerd in one thing or in everything over, quote unquote, living my life. Because that short period of living your life quickly comes to an end for most people. There are exceptions where people get to continue traveling the world. They have an eccentric lifestyle. They don't desire to have a family. I have a cousin like that, and she lives her life to the fullest. She is a contract lawyer, and she generally works on 3 contracts at a time and works roughly only 72 hours a week. And she makes about $500,000 a year. She travels the world. She lives her life. She doesn't want kids. She's married. And I love her. I love that life for her. She enjoys it. But that doesn't work for everybody. And I think the main reason why is truly because you're afraid. You're afraid of the pain that it will take. You're afraid that you're going to miss out. You're afraid about actually being exceptional at one thing. You're not afraid of failure. You're afraid of success because you don't know what it's going to look like, and you don't want to have to be put in that situation where people are relying on you to call the shots. You have a higher degree of responsibility. You don't want that stress. You don't want that responsibility. And I understand that for some people, that's okay. But I think for the vast majority, we could all benefit from taking on more responsibility. We could all benefit from taking on more stress. We could all benefit from essentially working ourselves to the absolute limit so that we can better ourselves, our friends, our family, those around us, and by extension, our community. Because if you can't do that, then how do you expect the world to be a better place? And that's why nerds are necessary.
And think about it this way. What do you lose by becoming more knowledgeable? What do you lose? I would say that you lose way more by being ignorant as opposed to being knowledgeable on a particular subject or subjects in general. And even if it may look like you're not doing the cool thing, again, step back and ask yourself that question. What do I lose by gaining this knowledge or gaining knowledge in general? Because there's something that wealthy people, in order to become wealthy, that they probably know pretty well. Whatever that thing is, Lord knows. But they probably know something very well. So, in order to get there, you're probably going to have to be pretty knowledgeable on something. Now, that will normally take a lot of time, experience in studying on the subject, but what you seek to gain, what you could gain from being a nerd, in my opinion, is a lot more promising than if you chose to become an ignorant bump on a couch. So one may feel better in the moment, or one may feel more comfortable in the moment, but in the long term, you being a nerd and you working your hardest to achieve something and learn something and be knowledgeable in something will greatly benefit you. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but in your distant future. And you'll look back and say, man, that was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. And who would have thought? It would all have come from being a nerd.
Almost makes me think that the more somebody, well, to be exceptional, you have to go against the grain. So you have to go against the herd, at least nowadays, in a modern established society. But when you go back to hunters and gatherers, that's not the case. Before you geniuses start typing very intricate and elaborate sentences, thinking that you're using big words and you're intelligent, you're not a nerd, you're a geek. There's a difference. Now, I truly, truly believe that going against the grain and getting the hate that you'll receive and the negative feedback is an indicator that you're headed in the right direction. When people start looking at you and say, man, fasting 72 hours and going on, 10-mile runs at 105 degrees while you're at the 60th hour is dangerous. That's unhealthy. That's not good for you. When people start looking at you and say, man, you're obsessed, or they say, how can you spend so much money? Or you're lame because you don't come out with us, or why don't you appear at these social events? Or why do you not talk to us at the gym? Why do you not look at us? And when was the last time you texted me? Oh, my favorite one is, I'm upset with you because you haven't responded to my message. That was you, that was for you from somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Which has since been resolved. But it's little things like that where it's like people will notice these changes and they become uncomfortable with them and they will let you know. Like crabs in a bucket, they're trying to pull you down and keep you in the bucket. And although that might be the case, I actually think it's very simple. You're trying to escape and they're pulling you back. The Rock says it the best. He says, the more successful you are, the more haters you have. Therefore, you can measure your success by the amount of haters that you have.
Very true.
Within reason. Because you can just be a complete belligerent asshole who makes a big nutcase, which a lot of people on social media are. They just poke the bear.
Right.
But all in all, how many people sit there and hate on Elon Musk? How many people sit there and hate on Mark Zuckerberg? How many people sit there and hate on Jeff Bezos? There are some other pertinent figures that we won't mention. But people outrageously hate for no apparent reason on successful individuals. And that to me is a direct indicator that they are going against the grain and doing things that other people have not done. And therefore, that's why they've reached new levels of success. They're among the 10 richest men in the world. And you really think that you from your house and your opinion matters? You're calling them a nerd or whatever? Yeah. Shows a very good testament to your character. So check yourself before you wreck yourself.
I like that. Yes, sir.
The AM Club Podcast.
Signing out.
Mic check. The AM Club Podcast.